This week in gaming, a new video game set in the Avatar universe has been unveiled, James Cameron's not Airbender, sorry folks, Overwatch Competitive Season 4 kicked off and a new hero was released, the Xbox Game Pass has been unveiled, Wii game The Blob is coming to PC in April. The Chinese Room has announced So Let Us Melt, a VR game for Google Daydream about being lost and found, Dirt Rally has been released on Linux, and a little company called Nintendo has just released a new console, the Switch. This is 1RBC Gaming Weekly. First off, the Nintendo Switch has been launched. Nintendo's latest gaming system, the Switch costs $300 and is a hybrid home and mobile console. The reviews are in, and thus far they're generally positive. The hardware itself isn't in the same league as the Xbox One and PS4. The Switch really isn't a pixel pusher. While it is, of course, more powerful than Nintendo's last console, the Wii U, it's worth bearing in mind that it also has to be a handheld. That said, it's a handheld capable of running Skyrim. Regarding people's reactions to the Switch itself, so far everybody seems to love the Joy-Con controllers, which, in spite of being tiny, are very comfortable. The screen itself of the Switch seems to have a nice resolution, and from what I've been hearing, the battery life is rather reasonable. While the launch lineup of games has been a little sparse, there have been some rather strong entries, including The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, as well as 1-2 Switch, a rather decent minigame collection that everybody agrees should have been packed in with the console. One of the stranger knocks against the Switch is that game save data thus far cannot be transferred. So while the system accepts microSD cards, that's where your downloaded games go, your saved data is saved directly to the console's memory itself and cannot be moved to SD card or otherwise saved. So if your console dies, so do your saves. Now Nintendo hasn't thus far announced a way to transfer your saves to another medium, and there is no word yet on cloud saving. Seeing as Nintendo's track record with online gaming has been spotty at best, this does not bode well. Of course, we have yet to see their online services revealed in earnest, as they're pretty much in beta right now. This autumn, they're going to start charging for online multiplayer. Keep an eye out for cloud saves when that happens. Another foible uncovered by Polygon is that if you plug in a micro SD card, install a game to it, and then you unplug the card and install the game directly to the system's memory, and then, after that, if you plug in the SD card with the game installed to it, and then you tell the Switch to delete the game, it deletes the game from both the system memory as well as the SD card. It doesn't give you the option of where you delete the game. On the topic of online services, we have some good news. Friend codes are back. This method of befriending people through a 12-digit code is how you add friends on the Switch. You can't just input somebody's username like a normal person. What was Nintendo thinking? Friend codes aren't currently the only way to add friends. If you've befriended somebody on Miitomo, Fire Emblem Heroes, or Super Mario Run, which are Nintendo's mobile offerings, you'll be able to connect with those people through the Switch. You can also add friends via LAN. Nintendo says that they have plans to allow you to add friends via social network connections and, thank goodness, usernames, but it's not available at launch. Also, I know it's a weird gripe, but one of my favorite features of the 3DS was connecting with people via Street Pass. Now, in case you haven't heard of it, Street Pass was a 3DS feature that allowed two consoles passing by one another to share information wirelessly. Your 3DS could be in your pocket when you got Street Passed. You and whoever you passed would swap me avatars, maybe a little greeting, and game data, like heroes in Fire Emblem 2 spar against. The Switch has no such feature, regrettably. Now, I've talked a lot about the problems with the Switch, but it's not all bad. The system's hybrid nature is, inevitably, going to lead to some interesting sorts of games that, hopefully, take full advantage of the Switch being playable at home and on the go. Imagine a game like Animal Crossing or Harvest Moon, taking advantage of LAN play on the Switch. You can go out, visit your friends' homes and farms, then come home and have little mementos from those visits in your game. Or something along those lines. Personally, I'm going to wait for the Switch to have a more robust game lineup. While the new Zelda looks amazing, and it would probably be the only game I play on the Switch for a while, due to my infinite Steam backlog, I would like to see more games available on the Switch. What do you think about the Nintendo Switch? Is it worth the $300? Have you purchased one, and was the decision worthwhile? Hit us up on Twitter at OneRuleBeCool and let us know what you think. We'll be sure to share your thoughts on our next episode. While we're talking Switch, dbrand, the company that makes vinyl skins for laptops and other electronics, and just so happens to be the sponsor of half the tech shows on the internet, has issued a warning regarding skins and the Nintendo Switch. Specifically that the Joy-Cons and console are not compatible with vinyl wraps or any adhesive-backed skin of any kind. For some reason, skins will damage the finish that's on top of the Switch controllers and consoles. dbrand discovered this while testing their skins on the Switch, and so in addition to this warning, they're offering refunds to anybody who has pre-ordered Switch skins. If you have a Switch and you're thinking about creating your own custom vinyl skin or otherwise modifying its appearance, be forewarned that this may cause other issues. Hold off on the mods and stickers until this adhesive issue is resolved. Otherwise, your Switch's finish may wind up dissolved. If you're thinking about picking up the Oculus Rift, now is a pretty good time to do so, as Oculus VR has shaved $200 off the Rift plus Touch Bundle. It's gone from $798 to $598. Is that expensive? Yes, very. Is it worthwhile? Well, that's up to you to decide. If you do purchase a Rift and the Touch controllers, you should know that it comes with the game Robo Recall. Developed by Epic Games, it's a game about shooting robots, and it's free for anybody with a Touch. 2 weeks ago, we talked about Sony dropping PlayStation Now support for the PlayStation 3, Vita, and a number of smart TVs and Blu-ray players. PlayStation Now is Sony's game streaming service. In exchange for a monthly fee, you can stream a broad catalog of PlayStation games to your PS4 or PC. This week, Microsoft announced the Xbox Game Pass, which will give players access to over 100 games when it launches this spring. Unlike PlayStation Now, the games on the Xbox Game Pass will be downloaded to your console. This creates some interesting differences between the two consoles and services. Do you have a robust internet connection but don't have a whole lot of hard drive space on your console? The PlayStation Now service, in conjunction with a PC or PS4, might be the better value for you. On the other hand, do you have a nice big hard drive but a slower internet connection? You may fare better with the Xbox One and the upcoming Xbox Game Pass. What do you think? Does this sound like a good deal? Hit us up on Twitter at OneRuleBeCool and let us know. In stranger news, this week the Bolivian government has filed a formal complaint about Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands. Issued to the French embassy, the complaint regards the way that the game portrays Bolivia, as having been taken over by a Mexican drug cartel. Apparently, Bolivia finds this deeply upsetting. Ubisoft, the company responsible for Ghost Recon Wildlands, is based in France. Frankly, I don't think that there can be a good end to this situation. The game, after all, is a work of fiction. Bolivia rallying hard against it shows that Ubisoft has hit a nerve, since Bolivia really does have a very serious problem regarding the production of illegal drugs. If Ubisoft changes the in-game location from Bolivia to undisclosed South American location, the vocal contingent of free speech gamers will get up in arms. On the other hand, if Bolivia continues to push the issue, it'll reflect poorly upon the country. The best thing that they can do at this point is to drop the matter and avoid embarrassment. After all, nobody complains that Fallout is set in a post-apocalyptic version of the United States. That said, I can understand the position that Bolivia is in right now. Tourism can be a tricky business, and it's one that's very important to a lot of South American countries. If people get the impression that the country is dangerous and not worth going into at risk of being kidnapped and murdered by a drug cartel, guess what? That's bad for tourism. What do you think? Should Ubisoft be more careful about how it picks settings for its video games, or do you think that Ubisoft is in the right here and that Bolivia is making a huge mistake? Hit us up on Twitter at OneRuleBeCool and let us know. While we're talking about Ubisoft, this week they released a teaser trailer for a new game based on James Cameron's Avatar. The 2009 film currently has 4 sequels in development. There's not very much information about the game other than the fact that it's being developed by Ubisoft's Sweden-based studio Malmo Entertainment in conjunction with Lightbox Entertainment and Fox Interactive, and that it'll employ the Snowdrop engine. Also, probably that it will have minimal cultural impact, in spite of sales. We might have made that last bit up.
Created that feeling that Pandora is actually a place, and a beautiful place where you think you would like to be.
Hot news for Overwatch fans, a brand new hero is coming to the game and her name is Orisa. A brief Origins video was released this week as she was dropped into the game's test servers. I've had the opportunity to play her and I must say, she's got a pretty interesting design. She's a centaur robot, totally different from anybody else in the game. She's a tank who plays like an even more mobile version of the freshly buffed Bastion, but she can drop barriers that are like miniature versions of Reinhardt's shields. Her alt-fire pulls enemy units together. It's a bit like Zarya's Graviton Surge, but it only lasts for a second before it dissipates. After Blizzard is satisfied with the testing, she'll be added to the main game. Expect to play as her sometime this month. If you're a PC player, you can play her right away in the PTR, but if you're on console, you're gonna have to wait.
No, that's no good. Every great hero needs a real name. What about Orisa? I made you to be strong and brave. You still have a lot to learn. And you'll probably mess up sometimes. But I know you'll become the hero we need.
My name is Orisa. I will keep you safe. That is my primary function.
In-game releases this week, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild came to the Nintendo Switch and Wii U. This is a game that hardly needs any introduction, but on the off chance that you haven't been paying any attention to any coverage of this hotly anticipated open-world RPG, or maybe you've survived a plane crash and you're coming off of a desert island after several years, in which case congratulations and Season 4 is going to be terrible, what you should know is that in The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, you play as a mute guy named Link whose kingdom, Hyrule, has been wrecked. Now, he spent a century asleep, Avatar style, and the world that he wakes up to is a very confusing place. Now, in many ways, Breath of the Wild is a return to the way that the game used to be, with very little in the way of tutorial and handholding. It's a 3D Zelda with 2D roots. It's full of puzzles to solve and bosses to battle, and, surprisingly, food to cook. Now, the game's aesthetic seems to draw on the works of Studio Ghibli, and its design has been described as both liberating and challenging. If you own a Switch, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is a must-buy. Now, admittedly, the list of must-buy games on the Switch isn't particularly long at the moment. That said, Breath of the Wild currently tops the list.
Open your eyes.
Breath of the Wild wasn't the only open-world ARPG released this week. Horizon Zero Dawn came out and, as we reported last week, received rave reviews from critics. See our previous episode for details on that. The skinny of it, however, is that this game about hunting robot dinosaurs in the post-apocalypse has fantastic gameplay, a well-designed world, and a fantastic story that occasionally stumbles with its pacing and voice performance, is still a pretty strong game. Overall, Horizon Zero Dawn is one of the best games on the PS4 thus far. If you're looking for a fresh and exciting sci-fi adventure, you owe it to yourself to check this game out. Also released on the Switch is the game Snipper Cliffs, which is a co-op puzzler about cutting up your partner in order to... Okay, hold up. On the off chance that you're enjoying this show as a podcast instead of in video form, rest assured that Snipper Clips is very cute. Your partner enjoys the cutting process. Anyway, Snipper Clips is about cutting to solve puzzles, and it's gotten very good reviews. It's only going for $20, which makes it one of the cheaper games that you can get for your Switch. But in spite of the low price, it's a lot of fun. Snipper Clips is well worth picking up if you have a co-op partner who's into puzzles.
Here, come over here. Rotate.
Jump!
The Minigame Collection 1-2 Switch has thus far gotten less than stellar reviews. It's a collection of 28 games that seem designed to show off the Switch's abilities. These are games that you play when you're not looking at the television. Instead, you're staring into your partner's eyes, waiting to be shot in the gut, cowboy style. Or maybe you're milking a cow. Yeah, these games can get a little weird. They employ haptic feedback and audio. The games in this collection aren't particularly complex. They're not bad games, just shallow. It seems a little strange that Nintendo didn't have 1-2 Switch as a pack-in game. It's $50, and honestly, you're probably only going to wind up getting $50 worth of fun out of it if you have a party of friends to play with. It's probably too awkward to play if you just have one other person with you. You know, when I got my 3DS, it came with minigames built in that showcased the system's abilities. There was this AR shmup that would put evil robots around the room, and there was Street Pass Plaza, which obviously showed off Street Pass's abilities. So why couldn't Nintendo do that with 1-2 Switch? Even if these games are simple and shallow, they are such a good way to show off what the system is capable of. Telling consumers, hey, this game uses the HD Rumble, doesn't mean a whole lot if they have never felt the HD Rumble feature before. Whereas, if they've tried a game using the HD Rumble with 1-2 Switch at a friend's house, guess what? They're going to be a lot more inclined to pick it up. It's as though Nintendo is assuming that people aren't so interested in being social with their console. Remember back when the Wii launched and everybody and their grandma was gathered around the television with their Wiimotes? Nintendo just shot themselves in the foot by not including 1-2 Switch, because instead of buying that game for $50, everybody's gonna spend their money on The Legend of Zelda instead. Not a strong way to launch, Nintendo. As to whether or not the collection's actually worth buying, as said before, if you have friends to play it with and you think it's worth it, go for it. Just, you might want to skip on the cow game. Trust me on that. Now, I'm a pretty big fan of the Steamworld games. I started off with Steamworld Heist on the Nintendo 3DS. This week, Steamworld Dig 2 was unveiled. Currently in development for the Nintendo Switch, Steamworld Dig 2 is a Metroidvania in which you are digging through a mine and collecting ores and in search of treasure, and a mystery. Now, the first game was absolutely fantastic, and I expect nothing but greatness from the second game, which is set to be released this summer for the Switch. It'll probably be released on other consoles at a later date. Finally, we leave you with a trailer for Cities, Skylines, Mass Transit. The next expansion for city-building game Cities, Skylines, Mass Transit brings some more advanced transit systems, including ferries, cable cars, and blimps, big potential sources of revenue for your city. That's it for this week's episode of 1RBC Gaming Weekly. For all the greatest game news and editorials, be sure to follow at OneRuleBeCool on Twitter and Instagram. Follow me at Jordan_Cameron for my own views. Just a quick heads up, next week there will be no new episode of 1RBC Gaming Weekly because we'll be at PAX East in Boston, Massachusetts. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with it, the Penny Arcade Expos are a series of consumer-oriented gaming expos founded by the creators of the Penny Arcade webcomic. They're pretty popular and, in my opinion, well worth attending. There's a great community there, a lot of awesome games, developers, panels, and much more. Be prepared for lots and lots of coverage.